Methodological approaches shape how agritourism is understood as both an economic activity and a cultural and environmental system. This section introduces the main research traditions used to analyze agricultural tourism, highlighting how quantitative, qualitative, and mixed method studies provide complementary insights. Quantitative approaches capture measurable patterns, such as visitor flows, regional economic impacts, or behavioral trends, while qualitative methods reveal lived experiences and contextual meanings within rural communities. Mixed methods designs combine these strengths to build a more holistic picture of how agritourism contributes to rural resilience and local identity. By situating agritourism within interdisciplinary research traditions, the presentation prepares the groundwork for a deeper examination of specific methodologies in the following sections. Agritourism research requires methodological sophistication because it sits at the intersection of agriculture, tourism, environment, and rural development. Understanding the logic behind research and design is essential for interpreting results and evaluating policy implications. Quantitative methods help measure financial flows, market trends, and visitor patterns, while qualitative approaches explore how farmers, tourists, and local stakeholders experience these interactions. Mixed methods integrate numerical data with rich narratives to capture the complexity of rural tourism systems. This methodological diversity ensures that studies can address questions related to economy, culture, social well-being, and ecological change. After clarifying this conceptual ground, the presentation moves into the first major category, quantitative research. Quantitative methods provide structured data that enable comparison across large populations and regions. Surveys and questionnaires are commonly used to map attitudes, motivations, and demographic trends among visitors, farmers, and policymakers. Economic impact assessments quantify direct and indirect financial flows, such as tourist spending, employment generation, and income multipliers, revealing how agritourism contributes to regional economies. Statistical modeling goes further by identifying relationships between variables and forecasting outcomes using techniques such as PLSPM, spatial econometrics, and behavioral path models. These tools allow researchers to distill complex dynamics into measurable indicators and predictive frameworks. To explore these methods in more detail, the next section focuses on survey design and implementation. Surveys play a central role in agritourism research by collecting comparable, structured data directly from target populations. Effective instrument design begins with identifying key groups, such as farmers, tourists, and local officials, and ensuring that survey items reflect their realities and concerns. Format selection often relies on Likert scales or closed-ended questions that facilitate coding and statistical analysis. Pre-testing phases help refine language, structure, and comprehension, particularly when instruments are translated for multilingual contexts. Data collection strategies must balance representativeness with logistical constraints, often relying on on-site administration to capture high response rates. Once data is collected, statistical analysis software enables descriptive, correlational, and inferential testing. With this foundation in place, the presentation turns next to economic assessments that follow the financial flows generated by agritourism. Economic impact assessments examine how agritourism interacts with wider economic systems, capturing both direct and indirect financial effects. Key frameworks include partial least squares path modeling, which links sustainability indicators to revenue streams, and multiplier analysis, which estimates how visitor spending circulates through supply chains and local economies. Opportunity cost assessments highlight how shifts in labor or resources influence agricultural and tourism productivity. These evaluations help determine whether agritourism strengthens rural livelihoods or displaces other essential economic activities. Critical considerations include distinguishing local benefits from leakage effects and understanding how public policies, such as loans or infrastructure investment, shape outcomes with financial impacts addressed. Attention shifts to advanced modeling techniques used to explain agritourism dynamics. Statistical modeling provides researchers with tools to uncover hidden relationships among variables, influencing agritourism performance. Structural equation models examine both direct and indirect pathways between latent constructs, such as how tourist satisfaction influences community well-being or farm revenue. Spatial econometric models capture location-based dependencies, evaluating how regional patterns and neighboring activities affect outcomes. Behavioral path analysis investigates how visitor perceptions translate into actual engagement or purchasing decisions. Survival analysis adds another dimension by estimating the long-term viability of agritourism enterprises under varying economic and environmental conditions. Together, these modeling approaches allow researchers to interpret agritourism as a dynamic system shaped by spatial, social, and economic interactions. Qualitative methods provide a deeper understanding of how agritourism is experienced by the individuals and communities involved. Unlike quantitative techniques, which focus on measurable patterns, qualitative inquiry explores motivations, perceptions, cultural meanings, and the subtle dynamics that shape daily interactions. Interviews allow farmers, visitors, and local leaders to articulate personal stories that reveal how agritourism affects identity, tradition, and livelihoods. Participant observation captures real-time behaviors and social interactions, offering insight into processes that numbers alone cannot explain. Focus groups generate collective dialogue, highlighting shared concerns or aspirations among specific groups. These methods bring forward nuanced interpretations of rural life and community transformation, offering essential context for interpreting statistical findings. Building on this depth, the next diapositivo examines interviews in greater detail. Interviews serve as a core, qualitative tool for exploring individual viewpoints within agritourism settings. Semi-structured formats allow researchers to combine consistent questioning with open-ended conversation, enabling participants to articulate personal experiences in their own terms. This approach uncovers motivations for visiting farms, challenges faced by operators, and the cultural significance attributed to rural landscapes. Structured interviews provide comparability when policymakers or community leaders discuss governance, regulation, or development priorities. Informal interviews conducted during site visits offer spontaneous insights that reflect daily realities. Transcribing and analyzing these conversations reveal patterns in attitudes, concerns, and expectations, enriching the understanding of how agritourism operates as both an economic and cultural system. The next diapositivo extends this exploration by focusing on focus group discussions. Focus groups examine agritourism issues through collective dialogue, allowing participants to react, agree, or challenge each other's viewpoints. This dynamic interaction produces data that differs from individual interviews, highlighting group-based values, community dynamics, and shared interpretations of tourism impacts. Focus groups are particularly useful for understanding how local communities perceive visitor behavior, infrastructure needs, or cultural preservation. For tourist groups, they reveal motivations, expectations, and perceived constraints related to rural experiences. Effective facilitation ensures balanced participation and encourages discussion around practical solutions or concerns. Insights from these sessions help policymakers and operators design strategies that better reflect community priorities. With group dynamics addressed, the next diapositivo turns to ethnographic observation. Ethnographic observation allows researchers to study agritourism as it unfolds in real environments, capturing details that participants may not articulate verbally. By observing activities such as guided tours, workshops, or farm stays, researchers gain insight into how visitors interact with agricultural spaces and how hosts manage these interactions. This method highlights implicit norms, such as social etiquette, informal rules, or unspoken expectations, that influence the quality of visitor experiences. Observations also reveal workflow patterns, spatial arrangements, and cultural expressions embedded in daily farm life. These insights support more accurate interpretation of survey or interview data by grounding findings in lived practice. With observational tools established, attention shifts toward integrating multiple qualitative methods for comprehensive analysis. Case studies provide structured, in-depth analysis of specific agritourism operations, regions, or policy initiatives. This approach synthesizes multiple data sources, interviews, financial records, observations, archival materials, to create a rich narrative about how agritourism functions in a particular context. Case studies allow researchers to explore causal mechanisms, trace the evolution of business models, and evaluate the impacts of governance structures or environmental conditions. Their strength lies in producing thick descriptions that reveal why certain strategies succeed while others fail. These insights offer practical lessons for replication or adaptation in other regions. With this contextual depth established, the final diapositivo presents mixed methods, approaches that bridge qualitative and quantitative perspectives. Mixed methods research integrates quantitative precision with qualitative depth to produce comprehensive analyses of agritourism systems. By combining surveys with interviews, statistical modeling with ethnographic insights, or economic assessments with community narratives, researchers capture both measurable outcomes and underlying meanings. Sequential designs start with one method to inform the next, while parallel designs generate complementary datasets simultaneously. This integration uncovers complex interactions. For example, how visitor spending influences community well-being, or how cultural identity shapes market behavior. Mixed methods approaches provide robust evidence for policymakers, operators, and regional planners seeking balanced strategies for rural tourism development. Together, they complete the methodological toolkit introduced throughout this section.